So welcome everybody. My name is Mitch Bernard. I'm Fred Ebb's nephew, and I don't know what I did to deserve that. My mother gave birth to me, and her brother was my Uncle Freddie, so that was about it. But my uncle set up this foundation under the terms of his will. He died in 2004. And the foundation has two purposes, both charitable. One is to give a contribution annually to Broadway Cares Equity Fund Savings. And this was one of the ways in which my uncle wanted to give back to the theater community, which had given so much to him. And so I'm very happy to announce that this year, and just a few minutes ago, I gave to Tom Viola, who's the executive director of Broadway Cares, a check in the amount of $1,950,000. This is the largest annual gift we've made to Broadway Cares since we started in 2005. And it brings the total that we've contributed to Broadway Cares to over $15 million. I'm very proud of my uncle for many reasons, but this is one of them. The second thing we do is we do what we're here to do tonight, which is to give out an award to an aspiring musical theater songwriter. And I am thrilled this year to be giving that award to Shaina Taub. We'll be hearing from her in a few minutes. The award, the award includes a $60,000 payment one time, and a workshop in the spring, a one-night workshop, which the foundation produces so that Shaina can display her work for people in the industry and others. This year there were 224 applicants for the one award. We got it down to 6 finalists, and I want to recognize them. A couple of them are here tonight. The finalists this year, in addition to Shaina, were Peter Lerman, Neil Bartram, Lourdes Lane, Adam Overett, and the team of David Malamud and Michael Cooper. So congratulations. And I want to thank a few people who make the foundation possible. In terms of going through those 224 applicants and helping to select the 6 finalists, I want to thank J.V. McCanty, Dave Solomon, and Tom Shepard. And the selection panel, Sheldon Harnick, who's done this every year. And those of you who have probably heard me say that my uncle was not a great fan of other lyricists. He liked mediocre lyricists, but great lyricists he had a lot of trouble with, but not Sheldon. He was a deep admirer of Sheldon's work and a fan of Sheldon as a person. So thank you, Sheldon. David Loud also helped us pick the winner. Kate Baldwin, Tammy Long, and Tim Pinkney. I want to thank also our friends at the Roundabout, Jess Owens, Annie Hulcher, and Nancy Mulliner, and for helping me set up the foundation and figure out both the legal and the financial parts of it, David Patterson and Jack O'Neill. Matt Ross, who does our PR pro bono. Billy Stritch for the camera and music. And Henry McGee, who's our photographer, who's also done this from the first year. We did it in 2005. And my friend Lee Wexler also is going to be videotaping tonight. I want to give special thanks to Tim Pinkney. Tim produces this event. Tim is a producer extraordinaire for the Actors Fund. He's also a fine playwright. who has a couple of plays that are in workshops and readings, and you may well be hearing more from him on that front soon. But Tim was a good buddy of my uncle, and he's a tremendous friend of the foundation. So thank you, Tim. Finally, I want to thank the two people who are most important tonight. One is John Kander. He calls me his business partner, which always thrills me. We have a thoroughly unique relationship in my experience, which is he makes all this money, I get half of it and give it away to charity. I really recommend it. I think everybody should have at least a long relationship like that in life. So I'm very grateful to you, John. And finally, my Uncle Fred, who decided to do this. He knew that his intellectual property was going to generate revenue for years to come. I'm not sure he realized how much revenue, but he wanted to set this up to give back. I can't describe to you how improbable it is that my uncle became a lyric writer. He grew up in an extremely modest household. His two sisters, my mother and my aunt, went to work so that he could go to college. The idea that, to any of his relatives or extended family, that he would be a musical theater lyricist, if he come home and said, I'm going to be an astronaut, that would have been about the same as saying that he was going to be a musical theater lyricist. But he did that. He made this life for himself, and it turns out that he was fantastic at it. And I want to read one of his lyrics, because these are strange and disturbing times that we're living in. And I'm sure a lot of us are feeling that. And making art and making theater art is one way to respond to some of what's going on in Washington and in the world. And sometimes, of course, politics and art converge. There's a song near the end of the first act of Cabaret called Tomorrow Belongs to Me. It's just 4 short verses, which I want to read to you. The sun on the meadow is summery warm. The stag in the forest runs free. But gather together to greet the storm. Tomorrow belongs to me. The branch of the linden is leafy and green. The Rhine gives its gold to the sea. But somewhere a glory awaits unseen. Tomorrow belongs to me. The babe in its cradle is closing his eyes. The blossom embraces the bee. But soon says a whisper, arise, arise. Tomorrow belongs to me. O fatherland, fatherland, show us the sign your children have waited to see. The morning will come when the world is mine. Tomorrow belongs to me. It's a beautiful lyric. The images are specific and apt. The meter and rhyme are impeccable. And it's true to the characters who were young Nazis in the 1930s in Berlin, as the Nazis are rising to power in Germany. And it's set to a beautiful tune. And there's this dramatic contrast between this sort of the beauty and simplicity of the song and the horror of that moment. So I read this tonight because a couple of months ago, after the events in Charlottesville, I got an email from a friend of mine, which had a link to a site. I clicked on it, and it showed that a white supremacist group was using this song as its kind of theme song. And of course the song warns us against everything that the white supremacists stand for. And the values of Kander and Ebb, as reflected in their work and in themselves as people, are completely contrary to everything that white supremacists believe. And it reminded me that sometimes politics and art converge in a kind of dark place. If they persist in using the song, we're going to try to stop them as best we can. But it was a reminder to me of one aspect of the times we're living in. Sometimes, though, politics and art converge in a bright and a happy place, and they do tonight, because we celebrate Shaina Taub. And as you'll hear, one of the musicals that Shaina is writing is about the suffragist movement. And its themes are equality for women and empowerment of women. And it's a historical piece, but it has great resonance, deep resonance today. And so it makes me especially happy that a new voice writing about these meaningful themes is emerging and will be supported by the Fred Ebb Foundation. So in order to present the award, it is a great privilege for me to introduce Brian Stokes Mitchell. He's the chairman of the board of the Actors Fund. The Actors Fund is one of the largest recipients of money raised and given out by Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And of course, he's one of this generation's premier stage performers. He won a Tony Award for his work in Kiss Me Kate. As important tonight, he was in Kiss of the Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera. And at my uncle's memorial service on Broadway in the fall of 2004, he sang a song from Scottsboro Boys called Make Friends with the Truth. And that piece, too, is a meaningful convergence of politics and art. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Brian Stokes Mitchell.
Thank you. It's a joy to be. Hey, everybody. Good evening. How's everybody feeling? This is one of those kinds of celebrations that are just. I love these so much because it's small and it's intimate and it's a celebration of something wonderful. You know, it's a perpetuation of what we do, musical theater, and it's friends and family and celebrities and famous people and writers and fellow aspiring writers and established writers as well, like Sheldon and John and so many others here. And it's this convergence of all of these wonderful energies in one room. So I'm so happy to be in this room with you all. Tim had called me and asked if I would come and speak a little bit and do this introduction, and asked me if I could speak a little bit about Fred. And it's interesting because I was kind of racking my brain thinking about things to talk about Fred, because interestingly enough, I have a very long relationship with Fred when I started thinking about it, but personally, we didn't get together as often as I would have liked. I saw John all the time. We would get together and hang out, or he was at my first audition we were talking about for Kiss of the Spider Woman in a room with Terrence McNally and John and Hal Prince, I think, just the four of us in this little tiny room on 8th Avenue. And but Fred wasn't there at that audition. But as I started thinking back about it, I thought, you know, Fred has been in my life for almost as long as I can remember. One of the very first songs I remember hearing is My Coloring Book. Andy Williams recorded it, and I remember hearing it on our stereo. You young people, you can ask your older people in the room what those are, that played in our house nearly constantly. And I remember being very struck by the music and the lyric of that, and I was very moved. And even still, when I think about that song, it kind of gives me chills. And I think it was one of the first times I recognized how beautiful music could be, and I think it was one of the first times I ever had an emotional response to a song, and I was maybe 6 years old at the time, so it kind of started something really wonderful to me. And that continued, you know, with watching all the shows that John and Fred did together and listening to his lyrics. And what struck me, I think, and still continues to strike me about his lyrics and the work that you guys did together is there's this incredible, Mitch alluded to this as well, there's an incredible social consciousness in their work that is consistent throughout all of their writing, and you listen to the lyrics that Fred wrote, and they're lyrics that still speak to us in so many ways, and I think that is one of the most wonderful aspects about being an artist. I've talked about this before, and some of you may have heard me say this, but art has the ability, I think, to change people in an epiphanal, immediate way in which nothing else I can think of does, except for some traumatic thing that happens to somebody in their life, can change a person literally in a second. But you can go see a show, you can go watch a cabaret and hear the lyrics and see what happens, or Scottsboro Boys, or Chicago, and you can leave the theater a changed person. And so many of John and Fred's songs and shows did that, and I think that's such an important thing, an ability that artists have to do, and it starts with the writer. It starts with the writer. My favorite acting coach, who I studied with for a long time, a guy named Saldana, who's since passed on, always said, one of his quotes that was drummed into my head was, the artist's first obligation is to the playwright. You know, and if you're doing the music as well, that's the songwriter and the lyricist. You want to discover what it is that they wrote, why they wrote it, and bring that to life. And especially when you're singing Fred Ebb lyrics, you want to be able to do that. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that for, I think, more than 2 years when I got to do Kiss of the Spider Woman on Broadway. It was really an important part of my life as well, because it also kind of began for me, even though it was my 4th Broadway show, it kind of, that led on to other really terrific things, and I got to meet Cheetah, who I call my girlfriend, and my wife calls my girlfriend too, so it's okay to say that publicly as well, and get to really get to know John and Fred a little bit as well. It's interesting because I went back to Los Angeles. I have a house in Sherman Oaks, and I went back there. I go back and forth there every once in a while, and there's this wonderful deli on the top of Mulholland. If you go from Sherman Oaks and you're going over to Los Angeles, there's this deli on the top, and I was eating there one day, and there was a woman there who, granted, I talked to all the time, named Dolores, and we were talking about things. She said, "You're Broadway, you do Broadway all the time." I said, "Yeah." She said, "You know, there's another Broadway guy here right now. He comes in here all the time." I said, "Oh, really? I wonder who that is." She said, he wrote like a cabaret and some things." I said, "What? Who? I think his name's Fred." I said, "Ah." And there was Fred having a cup of coffee, and I went over and said hi to him. And so we talked, but just for a little bit of time, because sometimes Fred could be a man of few words, and I didn't want to approach. He looked like he was maybe creating or doing something. I wasn't sure what. So you don't want to get in the middle of that. So we talked for a little bit. So I feel like he kept coming in and out of my life, and I still think of him just about every day, because actually I have a Hirschfeld in my apartment that's from an album cover that we did, and I look at you, John, and Fred standing there, and when I look at them, and I'm in the picture with a few other singers as well, and I think of you all the time, and I think of Fred particularly this time of year when this award is given out, because I think it's so important, and he would be so happy, so pleased to know that this award is going on to other young people, another generation who can spread their love of humanity and their knowledge and their desire to spread that love and spread that openness to other people, and to bring their own social consciousness into the work that they're working on. So I feel just so incredibly blessed to have known Fred, and I still get to know Fred as we all do, every time we get to hear a lyric that he wrote, or a song that somebody sings with one of his lyrics in it. And it's one of the great things about being, I think, a composer, a lyricist, a writer, is you live long, long, long after you're gone. And especially in something like today, what this is, his award, you really get to live on, because you get to pass that on to other young people who have that same fire that you have in your heart and in your mind and in your belly that you want to share and pass on to others. So it is with great pleasure that I get to present this 2017 Fred Ebb Award to Shaina Taub.
selection committee and to the Fred Ebb Foundation for this incredible, overwhelming honor. I feel so thrilled to get to join this extremely lucky club of writers and past winners who get to be the beneficiary of this generosity. And want to give a special shout out to one of my best friends and a past winner, Sam Wilmot, who painstakingly, lovingly, yes, teacher. Sam has lovingly, painstakingly proofread my application for the past couple years, and Sam, thank you for that. You're the best. Fred Ebb's impact on my life as a person and an artist cannot be overstated from a very young age. My wonderful sister and mom are here and can attest to this. I think it began when my school and my summer camp both did cabaret in the same year. And I played a Kit Kat girl. I was 12. I was Helga, obviously. Helga is the baby, very much. And that's right. So we have some summer camp friends here. So I wasn't Helga at camp, I was Helga at school. Anyway, long story. But I remember sitting there and listening to the student who was Fraulein Schneider singing What Would You Do, and the student playing the MC. Get a female MC, was cool. And she's doing If You Could See Her. And even as a young kid, it struck me, that thing that Mitch is talking about, that convergence of politics and art and the line towed between horror and humor, and how the musical stories they tell are at both times searingly political and deeply human and wildly funny and drop dead serious, all within a word and a line of each other. And there was something that I tapped into really young, and I knew on some level I wanted to strive to write like that, and I've been inspired by their work so much ever since. And I grew up in a really small town in Vermont, 2,000 people, and we were the only Jews. And I learned about the Nazis in World War II and the history, my history, through their show. I learned about it through cabaret before I had even learned about it in school. And just quickly, their musicals became like religion to me. Seriously, I got the vocal selections both of cabaret in Chicago, and I would play them all the time and memorize them. And the cat songs, these were like my holy texts. And I would stay up late or in cars, just memorizing, as if I was studying to replace in a show. I was just very meticulously, I was all 6 Merry Murderesses with Cook County Jail at once. I just learned every line obsessively. And now, these, and the names of the actors and the writers, and Fred Ebb, were gods to me, still are. And so now, to stand on the stage and to kind of be a small part of this incredible legacy and this community that all I've wanted for my life is to be a part of, it's really profound. And just amazing. But I tried to play cool meeting you earlier, but I'm just one of those people from so young. This has been my whole world, and so it just means a lot to me to be here. And coming to New York and now being here, these heroes, these gods that I've come to meet, some of them in the flesh, and what I've been so moved by. I always knew they were brilliant, and I always knew they were changing the world with their art, but it's just how much musical theater takes care of its young and cares about the future of the form and the craft, and how all these legends, that Fred Ebb wanted so much for part of his legacy to support and lift up that next generation. It blows me away, and I just hope that I can pay that forward one day somehow. I'm keenly aware that this award is for potential and not for achievement. That it's sort of this ultimate vote of confidence of okay, we believe in you. Now, I dare you to go out and live up to the standard, challenge. It's just sort of gauntlet thrown in the best way. And so, with this in front of you guys, just to be held accountable, I want to say, you're on. I'm gonna do everything I can. Work my ass off to earn this faith that you've shown to me, and to work as hard as I can to do my best to contribute to this community and this canon that has meant so much to me my entire life. And just a few more things. I just want to say I have a lot of friends here tonight, and Brian Eno coined this term called scenius that I love. SCENIUS is the genius of the scene. the communal concept of the form of genius is that idea that like there's not individual people who are making great things. It's a whole ecology of talent and a group that inspires each other to be better and lift each other up. And I'm lucky to be a part of an incredible scene here in the city. And the way we all support each other, my friends who are out there now, I mean, it's everything to me. And so many of you have received late night emails from me of the shitty first draft of whatever I'm writing and have just written me amazing notes, and the way that we do that for each other, I genuinely feel like I share this with you because I feel like we're all a team, and I never want that to change. And thank you for those of you who are here tonight to support me. And I just want to say, woo, this is intense. That's good. It's cool. We're gonna have some music soon. You know, I've been fortunate that I've never questioned or really been questioned that a path as a musical theater writer or performer, you know, this crazy life we pursue was a door that was available to me as a girl. And I know that that is due to the generations of women before me who it was not a door that was open and they had to kick it down so that I could be able to walk through it. And I'm so grateful, you know, to Eddie Compton and Mary Rogers and Marsha Norman and Lynn Ahrens and Janine Tesori and just all the great women who come before and made it a lot easier for our generation. I feel that deeply. And most of all, Liz Suedos, who, yeah, she deserves all the praise. Liz Suedos, just like for many of us in this room as well, just sort of picked me up and scooped me up and was the first person to believe in me as a writer. And there's just no way I would be continuing on in life or art without her. And Liz, we miss you every day, and you're with me all the time when I'm writing. I talk to you a lot, and I'm grateful for you. And then, last, I just want to say there's one person here who, like, there's definitely no way I'd be doing anything without, and that's my mom. I mean, like I said, I was just so obsessed with this from such a young age and just always so driven to pursue it. And she would just drive me so far to like voice and dance. And she didn't like drive me to New York because I just wanted so badly to audition for the Annie revival. I didn't get it, but it didn't matter. You know, she would just support me wholeheartedly all the time. And it's just never doubted me and never criticized or judged me and just always had that faith in me, and I'm so grateful. Thanks, Mom. Oh man, that's the end of my little paper that I've torn into shreds in my pocket. This award is life-changing, and I couldn't possibly be more honored to receive it, so thank you so much. And let's play some music, yeah? I'm gonna go over there, and so usually if I were at the piano, I'll play like a little, I'm just gonna walk. So I get a chance to perform my own material a lot, and so I thought it would be fun tonight to bring some of the seniors I was talking about, some of my amazing friends here to sing. So the first two friends, I'm blown away that they're here and that, oh, they're incredible. Broadway legends, you guys. Alice Ripley and Emily Skinner. Alice and Emily are going to do a song from a show I wrote for a bunch of clowns. You may know Bill Irwin and David Shiner. And this is a song from that show from Old Hats. It's called Reminder Song.
Now preachers and teachers and scalding brains have tried to provide a truth that explains why shit can go so badly. Well, I've had a helping or two of the blues, but I go back for seconds and thirds because I choose to stomach sorrow gladly. Because I have a theory that might sound crass, but to this hypothesis I raise a glass. Here's to the chaos, the heartache and strain, a weirdo up there who conceived this magic, tragic planet. And so I'll forgive him for adding the parts that savage and ravage our bones and our hearts and hardened souls to granite. For when at the end of a harrowing day you see who steps up on your doorstep to say, here's to the chaos, the heartache and strain, 3 cheers to agony, a toast to the pain, hats off to everything that leaves a scar, for reminding me who my friends are. Oh, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end. Not the misery nor the comedy, my friend. So drink from every cup and never give it up. Here's to the hope when odds are a joke. 3 cheers to foolish dreams when everything's broke. Hats off to every close but no cigar. Here's to the chaos, the heartache and strain. 3 cheers to agony, a toast to the pain. Hats off to everything that leaves a scar, for reminding me who my friends are. Reminding me who my friends are. Keep reminding me who my friends are. Oh, keep reminding who my friends are. Who my friends are. Who my friends are. Who my friends are. Yeah. Who my friends are. Keep reminding it. Who my friends
Alice Richmond, Emily Skinner, you guys. Legends up here. Thank you. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, so now I'm going to share, I thought it would be a fun chance to share some new stuff. From the project that Mitch was talking about, I'm writing a musical about the American women's suffrage movement. And the women's right for the vote leading up to the passage of the 19th Amendment, granting us the franchise in 1920. It's not that long ago. And we learn a lot about, or actually not even a lot, the little we do learn, rather, is about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They are amazing, they deserve a musical for sure. They were actually like the front end of what was 3 generations of women fighting for the vote, and by the time it really got down to business with the most radical stuff that happened leading up to 1920, they were already gone. So but they loom very large. They sort of hang over the movement like these spiritual godmothers that have been fighting about what Susan and Elizabeth would have done. And so my story centers around Alice Paul. And before I tell you a little more, I just want to bring up Grace McLean. Also legend. So Alice, she's in her 20s when we meet her. She's the fiery young Quaker from New Jersey. She busts on the suffrage scene, which when she arrives in 1913, it's kind of like hit a bit of a standstill. It's sort of a polite exercise, a lot of like formal tea with the president and a going through the motions hearing in front of Congress every year. Not much is going on. So she busts in, she's like, I'm gonna shake this shit up. I'm gonna bring some radical tactics into the scene. And she has this idea, Woodrow Wilson has just been elected, right? And he is no friend to women. And she has this notion, this crazy, unprecedented notion of having a giant women's march on Washington the day after he's inaugurated. Just imagine something like that. And I know it's hard. But so she arrives in Washington, she gets the like skeptical blessing of the people who are in charge. There's a whole other story, there's a lot, but I'm trying to keep it brief. And she arrives in Washington, and it's freezing, and she shows up at like the headquarters of the Suffrage Association, but no one has been doing congressional work, so the Washington office is really abandoned. It's like broken windows, mice, dust everywhere, she's alone, no power. And she sits down at the desk, which is Susan B. Anthony's old desk, but no one's been there for years, so it's like covered in mothballs, that's what I was searching for, mothballs. But the phone works. So she's kind of like phone baking, and she's calling people up to try and get support for this women's march. No one's biting, no one wants anything to do with something so radical. A lot of women like Wilson. Anyway, this is her, she hangs up the phone, yet another unsuccessful call. She sits at the desk.
Unrealistic. Carrie calls me unrealistic. I'm sorry, but her futile, highfalutin, backward tactics grind the motion of our movement to a halt. So forgive me if I may be so bold as to come up with new ideas, because her old ones are as much at fault for inaction as all these indifferent women. I don't understand how American wives endure servile lives. I want to shake them and shout, wake up! Do you not realize we're not free? Or do you refuse to see? Or do you relish being property? Oh, and my mother treats me like I'm still a little girl. She used to say, when you put your hand to the plow, you can't put it down until you get to the end of the road. But that's not what she did, no. She gave up long ago. They all think I'm out alone. They think I'm in over my head. They wish I'd go back home instead. I see how they smirk, how they squirm when I speak. Why was I born with a voice that's loud, but a mouth the world wants to keep shut? I need them to hear me. So right now, I make my own resolution, with no one here to witness but the broken basement window on this moonless frigid evening. I hereby testify. So help me God. I won't fail. Failure is impossible, because I won't compromise. I won't succumb to second guessing. I can't fail. Failure is impossible, because all I have to do is carry out what I've created and not allow myself to be intimidated. I will never be at rest. I will never be remiss. I will never be enough until I finish this, until I'm heard. I have my word. I won't fail. Failure is impossible. When my father was alive, he always said, when there's a job to be done, I make one Alice. When the furnace broke, I fixed it with him. We, not my brothers. He put me through college, though no one was sending their girls. Soon enough, men will learn I'm not like the others. I remember raising my hand in class to ask about the revolution. I long to be one of those who fought, not merely their descendant. Now that what they died for is at stake, I'm not asking to be called on anymore. I'll kick over my chair, take a stand and swear that I won't fail. Failure is impossible, because I won't sit in shadow while the suns go shake the nation. I can't fail. Failure is impossible, because I won't sacrifice my vision just for their permission. I won't appease them by in my ambition. I will never be at ease. I will never waste a breath. I will never be enough. Never be enough till failure is impossible. Failure is impossible. Susan B. Anthony first said that, likely at this very desk. And how did she fail to complete what she began? Did history leave space between us so I could pick up where she left off? The ink still wet. My country needs me. They just don't know it yet. They just don't know it yet. I'll make them know. I won't fail. Failure is impossible. So let them laugh and spit and call me unrealistic. I won't fail. Failure is impossible now. 'Cause I put my hand to the plow.
excited. We've never heard this one, never done it for anyone. Cool. This next song, so keeping it brief, Alice, she has the merch, a lot of shit happens. And she's now like built around herself her squad, you know, like her inner circle, her partners in crime of these 5, specifically like 5 cohorts in this, and they have done everything together, radicalized the movement, and really gotten things going. And at this point, much later in Act 1, one of them, her name is Inez Milholland, and she is sort of like the charismatic face of the movement. Even though Alice is the leader, Alice is kind of brilliant at writing the speech, brilliant. She's like the stage manager. You know, she like holds it all together, but Inez is the star. And she's incredible. She's a labor lawyer, which at the time, there were no other female labor lawyers. It was just her. And she rode a horse in the Women's March. She's key to everything. But she's been getting sick, she's anemic, and she goes to Alice before this final grueling speaking tour of the election of 1916, because they're trying really hard to make sure Wilson doesn't get back in office. Inez is like, Alice, I need a break, and Alice is like, no, suck it up, go do the speaking tour, and Inez is like, fine. So she's out west in Wyoming, and they like would drive across the country and go out to Wyoming, and she was leading a rally, Inez was, and she was leading a chant at the rally. How long must women wait for liberty? I don't know how the chants end, I haven't said that yet. It was like, how long must women wait for liberty? How long must women wait for liberty? How long, how long, how long? And while she was giving that speech, she collapsed at a podium, and she was rushed to the hospital, and the next day she died of anemia and exhaustion, really, and she was 30. And so back at headquarters, they're waiting for the election returns, and Alice and the other girls, and they find out Wilson has been reelected, they're in abject despair. Then they also find out the news about Inez, and they're beside themselves. And this song is the memorial that they have for her.
Forward out of error, leave behind the night, forward through the darkness, forward into light.
We organized a service for Inez in the National Statuary Hall on Christmas Day.
Forward out of error, leave behind the night, forward through the darkness, forward into light.
It was the first memorial ever held in the U.S. Capitol for a woman.
Unapologetic, she probably wouldn't want us to take even a moment to mourn her. She'd say, quit your crying, get on with the fight.
She'd have been wrecked by the results of this election.
She poured us a drink and said something casually profound. Then been back to work at first light. She was unafraid to be herself, even though she knew not self, marching with eyes on tomorrow, but not be understood by the many with eyes on today. She had a way of making us feel more courageous when everyone said to be less. We all turned to her with inspired expectation, for her voice with its challenge and its caress. The last thing she said was the question we're now asking over and over as we look back, as we look forward. How long must women wait for liberty? How long must we wait? Must we wait? Must we wait? She went into battle, a laugh on her lips. She once told me discouragement only excited her. So steadfast a soldier who can't afford to lose. She belonged to life, to the struggling actuality of the earth. I used to wish I could be in her shoes. She was our Hortensia, and flung her dare to the world. Oh, Inez, between her words and yours, the century seemed in the street? How many more efforts gone to waste? How many more deafening defeats? How many more histories erased? How many more dignities deferred? How many more told to know your place? How many more worlds will go unheard? How many more doors shut in our face? How many more Jones burned at the stake? How many more of us will it take? How long? How long? Till it's too late. Will we wait? Will we wait? We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait. We won't wait. We won't. We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait. We won't wait. We won't. We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait another day. We won't wait. We won't wait. We won't. We won't wait. We won't wait. We won't. We won't wait. We won't wait. We won't wait.
Angela Stefani, Elise Allen Lewis, Kate Berber, Nicky James, Keith Burma, thanks for playing, everybody. And for our last song, before we drink and hang out somewhere, it's amazing party. Ooh, I have a feeling a lot of things. This is cool. I just want to share one more song. I want to bring up a couple dear friends to do it. Leon Stamper, one of my oldest friends, come on up, and Mike Brunn, my bandmate, collaborator, and to sing lead on this song, another legend, Darius Gahas. So for the past 2 years, I've done a lot with the Public Works program at the Public Theater. It's an amazing community-based initiative behind the principle that the culture belongs to everyone, which it does. And I found her to do these 2 musical Shakespeare adaptations with the cast of 200 at the Delacorte. It's been a lot of fun. And Darius was our Duke Senior for As You Like It this summer. And this song was the finale for As You Like It. And As You Like It ends in a bunch of weddings, Shakespeare comedy, And so this is sort of this big song of wedding vows that is not only the vows between the 4 couples, but the vows among the entire community. So this is Still I Will Love.
We'll so begin these rites as we do trust they'll end in pure delight. On the heaviest day, on the bitterest night, still I will love, still I will love. When I'm tired and hungry and we're in a fight, still I will love, still I will love. As we change and we grow, as we ripen and rot, still I will love, still I will love. When nothing turns out quite the way that we thought, still I will love, still I will love you. When I'm scared to lay bare all the pain in my chest, still I will love, still I will love. At our bravest and weakest, our worst and our best, still I will love, still I will love. When we lose all our hair and our teeth and our minds, still I will love, still I will love. When the scenery falls and I mess up my lines, still I will love, still I will love. I make a promise,
I make a promise,
I make a vow,
I make a vow
to myself, to you, to everyone right now. When the world tries to tear us chasing our dreams. When we're messy and weepy and evil and old, when we don't have a clue what the future will hold. Still I will love, still I will love, still I will love, oh, still I will love, still I will love you. Still I will love, 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 still I will love.
Here's the house, my friend. All right, let's drink. Thank you, Fred Ebb Foundation.
Congratulations. Before we go, I just want to recognize some of our past winners who have come back tonight. Steve Lutback's here, Stacy Lovegood, Bill Palmer, Peter Mills, Doug Cohen, Sam Wilmot. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. You can scream out now if you want.
Curtis and Tom.
Hey, Curtis and Tom are here. I'm very happy you're here. Anybody else? Anyway, thank you all for coming back to welcome Shaina into this wonderful group, and thank you all for coming tonight.